Welcome to Life After Corporate, your ultimate guide for making the leap from corporate leader to entrepreneur. I'm Deb Boulanger, entrepreneur, executive leader, and founder of the Launch Lab for Women Entrepreneurs. This is your time to break through the glass ceiling once and for all and get your ticket to the C-suite. Come back each week to get the leading strategies, advice, and tools that will give you the skills and confidence you need to replace your corporate paycheck. Are you ready? Let's go. What if you get laid off? You may already feel the winds of change and have a sense that you might be laid off or have your furlough extended. What do you do then? Is it time to take control of your income and do something on your own? Or do you get another job? Today, I'm talking with HR insider, now career coach, Nicole Case, on her take on what to do if you find yourself unemployed in the season of uncertainty. Welcome back to another episode of Life After Corporate, my friend. And if this is your first time tuning into our show, welcome. It's here that you will get the advice, strategies, and tools to replace your corporate paycheck being your own boss and doing something that you really love. Today's episode is brought to you by the Launch Lab for Women Entrepreneurs, where successful women leaders get to replace their income by launching and growing a successful business. The Launch Lab is open for new enrollment now, and I'd love to welcome you to our community and help you take your big idea, test it out, and be sure it's legit. Create your new unique position in the market and price your services and get you earning money in your business right away. It doesn't take long, and it's the fast track to replacing the income you're leaving behind. And today we're talking about the elephant in the room. Our economy will take a long time to recover from this pandemic. And while the first round of employment layoffs were in the customer-facing jobs of retail stores, restaurants, and any place with a storefront, what we haven't been talking about as much is the impact this recession will be having on executive and management positions. Will this recession birth a new trend of women going out on their own and taking their careers into their own hands? Today, I'm talking with Nicole Case, HR leader and newly minted entrepreneur and a member of the Launch Lab, to get her insights on this elephant in the room, the layoffs that many companies are planning for the fourth quarter, and what to expect when you return to work in the fall. Will this be a time for you to venture out on your own and start something you're passionate about pursuing, or search for another position that might offer more balance and more fulfillment? So welcome, Nicole. It's so great to have you on Life After Corporate today.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks for having me.
So before we dive into our topic, as I ask all of our guests, what is your life after corporate story? What is your pivotal moment? And I understand this is your last and first day at each.
Yes, that is right. Today is my last day at my corporate job, but yet the first day full time in my entrepreneurial journey. And I'm so excited for it. And, just like many other women over the last, several months, I had already been working on this career and leadership coaching business for the last 2 years and was trying to figure out when will be the right time for me to make that leap. But since the pandemic has happened and all of these other things that have been happening in the world, so many women are reflecting on what it is that they're doing in their career today. Is it what they really and truly want? And is there something else out there for them? And so I did that reflection just like everyone else. And then I had so many women coming to me, as a career coach, asking me these questions. And I thought, now is the time to get out there fully and to truly help support these women going through these transitions.
It is the perfect time. And given the current scenario of continued downturn and those whispers of layoffs, some say that we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. And I know for many of my clients, they were working from home and then suddenly the kids were at home and it became a challenge to balance all of that. But I also know that there are probably Or I suspect there are probably some women who have always craved more work-life balance. And this opportunity to work from home has kind of given them this kind of feels kind of good. I wish I could do this more of the time. Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think women, while being at home with their partners fully, sharing bandwidth, and also trying to homeschool the kids is not the ideal scenario. I do think that once people got into their groove, I think they could see a future where, hey, this could actually be something that I could be successful with and be happy with longer term. And so again, speaking for myself, thinking about the possibility of having to walk back into a corporate office again, like I could not imagine that at this point. And so whenever I started having those thoughts and feelings, I knew it was definitely time for me to make the leap. And I think that other women are thinking about that and reflecting on that now, seeing how they're able to have this flexibility that they never had before. And their companies, frankly, have to be supportive of it right now. So I think companies are seeing that, hey, we are actually even more productive in a lot of cases with everyone working from home. So when we figure out what this new normal will look like in the future, I think that flexible working, remote working, I think that will absolutely be on the table even more so than what it was in the past.
And these were the opportunities that were so hard to find. I remember coaching some of my leadership clients, and they were in the middle of a transition and wanting to have more balance. And the conversation was always, but those opportunities are so few and far between. Everyone places such a high value on FaceTime in the office. So it's interesting that because of this situation, women are getting what they always wanted, which was that balance of more time with the family, more flex time at home. And we are just as productive. It's always been such a fallacy that, this impression that we're goofing off when we're not in the office. We're working just as hard when we're at our home offices.
Yeah, definitely. And I think companies are even looking as a cost-cutting measure, looking at reducing their physical footprint. And some companies have even made the decision already to go fully remote. So, if we didn't see those remote opportunities in the past, there are companies now that are moving towards 100% remote for their entire company. So even more opportunities will be available.
So this is a pivotal moment for many people, or will be a pivotal moment for many people, whether you choose that now is the time, since I've enjoyed this flexible work time, this working from home, that, maybe I could package my skills and go out on my own and do something that I'm passionate about and has impact for other people. And there's also a population of people that are going to say, oh my God, I have no desire to be a business owner. I need to get another job. I need to maintain my income. So what are your recommendations for both scenarios, for the woman who decides to go out on her own and the one who says, I need to get another job? What are my prospects? How do I position myself?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I think it's important to shift our mindset and shift our thinking to believing that we are in control. So we get to control if we want to go back to corporate, or we get control if we want to go out on our own and maybe make a different decision 6 months from now if whatever that initial decision was is no longer working. So I think during times like this, we are in such a place of feeling like everything is outside of our control. We don't make decisions. When it comes to our careers, regardless of the environment, we are absolutely 100% in control of the decisions we get to make about our careers. So that being said, the next thing to do if you're trying to decide, what your next step is just really to take that time to reflect. Again, we don't have those hour plus commutes any longer. Maybe you can break away for a little while and just do some journaling or do some self-reflection on what it is that you do want to do next. What are my skills? What are my strengths? What are the things that I've done in my career that I've had the most fun doing, or I feel I've been the most accomplished with? And then decide, based on all of that, is that another corporate role, or is that going out on my own? And there is no right answer there. That's such a personal, individual answer. And And I don't see why it can't be both. Why couldn't you pursue another corporate position while starting to build maybe a business on the side? And so once you decide what it is the direction you want to take, or what's the opportunity that you want to pursue, then it's about kind of putting those things into action. So if you're someone who's decided that you want to go back into the corporate space, again, be clear on what it is that you want to do next. And then you're able to update your LinkedIn and update your resume to reflect those specific opportunities. And then you can better prioritize your time and your networking efforts if you're super clear about what it is you're looking for. So you can avoid what I like to call the spraying and praying method, where you just send out a resume or send out LinkedIn applications without being focused and just kind of putting it all out there.
Yeah, I think it's important. Sorry for the interruption, but I think it's really important that, you are in control. I want to just pause and highlight what you just said is you are in control. And it's not like sometimes women treat looking for a job like kind of shopping. Like I'll go into the store and I'll see what fits, as opposed to being super clear on what does the ideal scenario look like for me and what would feel really good? What kind of culture do I want to work in? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my manager? What sort of relationship do I want to have with my team, and how do I want to be perceived? How do I want to be spending my time? I always say, create the box that you want to play in as opposed to fitting into someone else's box. And I know there's a lot of fear during this time of uncertainty and that maybe the opportunities will be scarce. But I think managing the whole mindset around that this doesn't have meaning, right? So it doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean that you were a failure. And I think before we got on, we were talking about that there's like no stigma here, right?
Absolutely. You are more than your job. You are more than your job title. You are more than your salary. I see so many women, especially those of us that are pursuing entrepreneurial opportunities or, trying to, be successful in corporate, that we place so much worth on the job that we do. And so I spend a lot of time with my clients untangling that. And again, we are in the middle of a global recession and pandemic. Nobody is going to look back at this time period and see a gap on your resume or in your LinkedIn feed and question, well, what's going on there? Oh, she must have had an issue over there. No one is going to question that. So again, this is the opportunity to try something new or go after an opportunity that maybe you were hesitant to do in the past. One of the things that I have heard from some women who have been impacted already from the layoffs is that they're saying that, boy, I didn't realize until I was done that I needed to leave way earlier. It's sometimes we're in our day-to-day and in our jobs and we're, just moving forward and we don't take that time to reflect. And so when people find themselves in a situation where they are without a job and they have this time, they often will tell me that, wow, this was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. This was the shove that I needed to either, pursue my business or to shift and go do something else in corporate.
Yeah, sometimes a layoff is one of the biggest gifts that you can get because it forces you to pause and get off the treadmill and stop operating on automatic pilot. And I think the theme for our conversation today is really the choice, so that you do have a choice. And the only decision to make is what do I want and what do I want to choose? And it's interesting because I've been watching this area for quite some time of women making the leap from corporate to entrepreneurship. And according to the American Express State of Women, I think it's called the State of Women at Work, the number of women launching new businesses every day is like 1,871 to be precise. Wow. And these women are leaving the corporate workforce at the peak of their earning potential. So these are women in their 40s and in their 50s when they have really achieved a high level of success. And then they get to a point and they say, is this all there is? I'm looking around. and I already achieved my goal. So what's next? And so let's talk a little bit about women, especially women over 50. So there's the women who want to make a choice of going for it. And for that, talk to me here. I think this would be so interesting is if you share your story of how you decided that you wanted to go out on your own. Because I know this idea just didn't happen recently. You've been thinking about this for a really long time. So what was the path that you took where you got that clarity that now is the time for me to start my business? What did you do after that?
Yeah. So, going back a few years ago, my husband and I were in incredibly deep student loan debt. We're talking multiple six-figure student loan debt here. I never believed at that time that I could possibly start my own business, even though I wanted to, because of that hanging over me. And so one day we sat down and basically said, are we living the life that we wanted to live? And we said no, because, the student loan debt was hanging over our heads. So we made a decision at that time to sell our home and move into a one-bedroom apartment in order to pay off our debt. And we did that in less than 3 years. And we have now actually been able to build our dream home and also have a little bit more of a cushion. And so when we made the decision to sell that house and to pay off the debt in such a short period of time, the very next thought I had was, oh my gosh, I can finally start my business. And so during that time, being in a one-bedroom apartment, I little by little was, working, to identify what it is that I wanted to do and who I wanted to help. And at that same time, I was at an Elevate event, an organization that Deb, you and I are both a part of. And I was hearing these women talk about their careers and particularly a woman who was earlier in her career sharing about how she was unsure about how to craft her personal brand, what that really meant, how to build a board of directors, why that was important. And she was talking about that, and a more experienced woman was across the table from her, and she said, I opened my wallet, and that's how I figured it all out. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've been coaching and helping women through this, through my work, through Elevate, through just friends and family who've reached out to me, and frankly, in my corporate work for 10 years. And I never thought that somebody would pay me individually to help them through all of this stuff. I have this insider knowledge on what happens in corporate and what the conversations are at the highest level about talent and how those decisions get made. And I was like, everybody needs to know this. And so that's how I figured out what my business plan was going to look like and the focus of my business was going to look like. And so once the pandemic had started, all of these conversations started happening in the last 6 months. I kept getting inundated with other women asking for help and asking for guidance. And I thought, now is the time. I could not wait any longer to get out there fully and help these women with their next step in their career.
And what perfect timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you couldn't have timed it better because the need is just increasing right now. And what I love about that is that you were tuned in to how people were perceiving you, because so many women make the leap and they think, oh, I'm just getting started. I'm new at this. How could I charge anybody for this? But what you have is decades of experience, that HR insider view, that insight into how these decisions are being made. And that's priceless to someone who is looking to break into a new opportunity, and you can offer that inside view. I'd like to talk about women over 50. Because I think we've talked about women being the biggest casualty of this recession and this pandemic, of us rolling back some of the gains that we've made in the workplace over the last few decades. And there is something called ageism in the workplace. And there are perceived to be fewer opportunities for women who are of a certain age. Now, the plus side of that is you've accumulated a lot of wisdom and experience in that time, and it might be easier for you to package up your skills as a consultant or a coach. But what advice do you have for women, particularly women over 50, who want to go back and get another job?
Yeah, so absolutely, ageism is real, even though it is illegal to fire or not hire someone just based on their age. However, the reality is it still does happen. And so if we stop and think about what are the things that people think about or what are the biases, conscious or unconscious, that people may have about women over 50 or just people over 50 in general. And many of those things are around the perceived lack of ability to pick up new technology or the perceived opinion that you can't teach an old dog new tricks or that they wouldn't want to learn something new and something different. And also, if you have spent 10 plus years at the same company, they may look at that experience and say, how are they possibly going to be able to shift and learn a whole new company when they haven't needed to do that in so many years? So it's being aware and clear about what those barriers are or what those perceived issues are for hiring somebody over the age of 50 and begin to tackle that straight on. So if it's a perceived thought that you aren't as technology savvy as someone else who is of a younger generation, prove them wrong. Maybe do you need to, gain some additional skills? There's so many opportunities and ways to do that today that you can be taking classes on Udemy or taking classes on LinkedIn to brush up on some technology skills. Or if you already have the skills, it's just a matter of showcasing those and proving to the hiring manager and the recruiters that you do have the technology skills in order to do this particular job. It's also being clear about the desire to want to continue and wanting to continue to grow in your career, regardless of job title, regardless of what role that you play in a company, there's always something for you to learn. And just highlighting that fact that, you're excited to learn something new, you're excited to learn a new company. This change is energizing you. There's so many ways to combat some of those hesitations or concerns. It just takes some planning up front.
And then there's also something is to not discount your expertise. And I think women in particular tend to undervalue not only the money that they make. So most women don't ask for as much money as they should, but also to undervalue themselves and the skills that they bring to the table. One thing that I've seen is there's a dearth of good leadership out there. So we're promoting leaders into positions because they were great individual contributors, and that doesn't make them great leaders. So if you are a woman over 50, I'm just projecting this, Nicole, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you're a woman over 50 and you have excellent leadership skills, I think leadership skills will always be in demand.
Absolutely. And I can tell you that in my experience being in corporate HR and being in the room where there's conversations had about who gets the promotion, who's deemed high potential, it's way more likely that the conversation is around somebody's leadership skills and around somebody's communication skills than it is around their technical capabilities.
Right. So emphasizing those leadership skills and the ability to get things done, galvanize different teams, cross-functional teams in the company. And so let's now talk about, because this is where we keep bouncing back and forth between get a job or go out on your own, get a job or go out on your own. And if you're thinking about that, the most important thing for going out on your own. Well, let me ask you, Nicole, what was the most important thing that you learned that actually surprised you after you had made the decision to go out on your own? Was there something easier than you thought it would be or more difficult? What was your experience?
So one thing I'll say is as soon as I announced several weeks ago that I was leaving and why I was leaving, that I wasn't leaving to go to another company right, to continue in this HR journey that I was, going out to pursue this business full time, so many people came to me and said, I've always wanted to go start my own business, but I've been too scared to do it. You are so brave. So I was not expecting that in a corporate environment to have so many people coming to me and, almost asking for some advice on, how I came to the decision. So that was something that was surprising. The other thing that was surprising was how calm I actually am about all of this. I am someone who runs at a super high frequency. I'm always doing something. I'm, a raging extrovert and love being around people and talking to people and being involved in so many things that I was surprised how I became so calm once I made the decision and communicated it to my manager, who I love dearly. And because people are asking me, are you scared? Are you nervous? How are you feeling? And there's some level of calmness that has kind of washed over me, which is really surprising and a little unusual for me and my personality, to be honest. But what that's telling me is that this is the universe telling me that this is absolutely the right decision for me.
And what do you think has been the most challenging? And it could be over the last couple of years as you were sort of developing your idea of what it is you would focus on, or even just as you look forward the next 6 months, where do you see the biggest challenge for you?
So while I was still working, a full-time, corporate job, the biggest challenge for me was just finding the brain space at the end of the day to focus on the business. And so now I truly feel that by leaving corporate to focus on this full time, I'll be able to have that creativity and that brain space and that time to be able to put the focus that the business really, really needs. I think another challenge that I think I'll face in the next 6 months is my desire to help so many people and my desire to be successful that I could risk trying to do too much at once. And so, like we've been talking about, and like I coach my clients on being super focused on the things that you need to be working on, in corporate, it's not the leaders who are doing all of the things that are most successful. It's the ones that are focusing and prioritizing their team on the right things. So I think that's going to ring really true for me, is that being focused on who my ideal client is, speaking directly to them, and and giving them the most support that I can. And if I'm distracted by too many shiny things, I know I won't be able to do that.
And that's the danger that all new entrepreneurs face, is that, I want to learn about this, or, I want to learn about that. And the fastest path to the cash is always getting really clear on your ideal client, what you're offering, how you're packaging that, how you're pricing it, how you're messaging and standing out from others, and really filling a gap in the market that's missing today. As you look at your business and you see a gap in the market today, what do you see is missing from that ability to coach people into the right decision and the right decision for them, whether it's getting another job or heading out on your own?
Well, I think what many people are focused on in this space is, okay, let's get your LinkedIn ready. Let's get your resume ready, so that you can get out there and start applying quickly. And that is not my process. I'm working with several women right now, and we have not yet even touched their LinkedIn page yet, because we are still working through understanding what their values are. And if we understand what their values are, then they can better identify the companies and the opportunities that they want to go after, so that we can be really crystal clear about what it is they're saying in their LinkedIn and what it is that they're highlighting in their resume. The other things that we focus on a lot in my business is this idea of overcoming imposter syndrome and rebuilding your confidence. So many women come to me and they are just utterly defeated at, the direction that their career is taking, or maybe they're in a really toxic environment at their current job. And so they cannot possibly be performing at the top way that they know that they can, just because of the environment that they're in. And they've been so beaten down. And so by the time they get to me, we need to spend a lot of time rebuilding that confidence, helping them see that they are worthy of that next big leap. They are worthy of that big salary. And we need to work on that first before we can even think about talking about what their LinkedIn and their resume looks like.
Wow, that's big. Really, standing in your value, standing in your worth. And sometimes there's this PTSD when you're emerging from this toxic environment. You have to relearn, like you said, what is my value? What are my values? But also, what is my value? And if you've been beaten down, sometimes it's really hard to see that value, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I frequently hear, "Oh, I'm not ready for that job," or "I'm not ready to apply for that. I haven't prepped enough." And absolutely, a lot of what we've talked about today is being prepared, and doing some of that upfront reflection. But at some point, you also have to take action, and you just have to go for it. The statistic that says that women will only apply to jobs that they feel that they meet 100% of the requirements, while men will apply to a job if they believe they meet at least 60% of the job requirements. That is absolutely holding women back in the workplace. And I can tell you that those job descriptions that are written, those are unicorn, absolutely everything in the kitchen sink that hiring manager could possibly think of they would want in that role. They've put it in that job description. And most of the time, the vast majority of the time, they have to back off on all of those requirements anyway. Once they start talking to people, then they get clearer on what they see this role as and what this role needs. And so often, they're willing to make concessions on some of those items that's listed in that job description. So a lot of what I have to do is help my clients, weed through that and look at these job descriptions and be clear about where they can absolutely add value and where their strengths are and how they can actually really excel in this particular role, even if they don't meet every single requirement.
Well said. Well said. Any other advice, Nicole, that you have for any woman out there who is afraid of being laid off before the end of the year?
If you are afraid to being laid off, again, please do not panic. You are more than your job and you're more than your job title. And this is not a reflection on you as a person. And again, we've talked a lot about, doing that reflection and, getting really clear about what it is that you want next. But I would leave you with two things. One, these next opportunities that are going to be coming are going to need to be done via networking. So the great thing is that we now have all of these great tools at our disposal to have a bigger reach when it comes to networking. You can find some former colleagues or maybe some former alumni of yours that you can reach out to and start talking with them again. Again, you can look on LinkedIn and figure out maybe who that hiring manager is, or maybe somebody who's in a role that you think is really interesting and you'd like to learn more. And so you reach out to do an informational interview. So virtual networking is definitely going to be the key for you landing that next big job. And then finally, lastly, please do not put looking for new opportunities in your LinkedIn headline. Recruiters are not typing into the search bar looking for new opportunities. They are searching for the specific roles or skills that they're looking for. And if you don't include those in your headline, you'll likely get missed.
Oh, that is such a hot tip. I never thought of that. And I do see that all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's so funny. And we'll just make a plug for Elevate Network. You're a chapter leader in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. So any listeners in your neck of the woods should seek out Nicole and attend the next Elevate chapter meeting. And I am the chapter leader for entrepreneurs in New York City. And that's how Nicole and I met. We actually connected in a squad, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Wow. It seems like I've known you forever, though.
I would agree.
And it's great to have you as part of the Launch Lab and just watch your business blossom and grow and get new clients. So it's just such a pleasure to see you make this transition so mindfully. And I know you're going to be a huge success at what you do now. Is there Any other advice or tools that you can share with our listeners, and where can they stay in touch with you?
Yes. So back to this idea of virtual networking. Regular networking is scary enough, right? But if we're talking about virtual networking, that can feel really daunting and overwhelming. So I have created a PDF guide for you that highlights the 5 tips on virtual networking and how to be effective without actually asking for the job outright. So you can find that PDF and download that and use that. Also, you can find me out on LinkedIn, out on Instagram at Nicole Case Coaching, and on my website at NicoleCaseCoaching.com.
So great to have you on Life After Corporate, Nicole, and congratulations on your last and first day of entrepreneurship. It is so wonderful to have you in the Launch Lab, and it was great fun having you here.
Thanks, Deb. I've really enjoyed our time.
Thanks for listening, my friend. If you enjoyed this show, please head over to iTunes and subscribe and leave us a review. And be sure to hop over to the Life After Corporate Facebook group and join other growing entrepreneurs to get weekly tips on how to create more money and meaning doing work you love.